Naruto has been a bumpy ride, and I do still wonder how on earth I managed to keep up with it until this very day. Although it had some standout moments at the start of the series, everything involving Jiraiya being great and Orochimaru making for a thrilling antagonist, the series suffered at points with its obsession with Sasuke's revenge story and a final war arc that lasted 4 years, introducing villain after villain to the point where I was saying, just fucking end already. This is the angle that I was coming from, stepping into Cinema 22 to see the Boruto film, and end the story for good. Bolt the movie is a 2008 comedy film about a dog who thinks he's a superhero. But Boruto, Naruto the movie, is an action film directed by Hiroyuki Yamashita that acts as a sequel to the Naruto Gaiden manga series and Naruto the last movie. As ever, Boruto is produced by Studio Pero, known for their work on Polar Bear Cafe, and the hit series Polar Bear Cafe. But without further ado, I present the anime review of Boruto, Naruto the movie. Set years after the events of Naruto Shippuden, Boruto aims to take the series back to its roots, with new characters and an origin story that feels nostalgic, yet clearly distinctive from the very start of the Naruto series. The Hidden Leaf Village has entered a new age of technology, and the internet, TV broadcasting and video games have all arisen during this fairly short period. But the real invention that Boruto the movie introduces is this gauntlet that allows anyone, ninja or not, to perform powerful moves without the use of their own chakra. It's this item that is given to Boruto and acts as a defining factor in his relationship with his father Naruto. With Naruto's position as the 7th Hokage and having achieved his goal from the very start of the series, Boruto is pissed off. Yeah, Naruto may be a great Hokage and busier than ever due to the Hidden Leaf Village having expanded, but this has made him a terrible father. Detached from his family, Boruto is constantly referred to as the Hokage's son, but it's a reference to a broken relationship purely on the part of his father. Boruto may be cocky and arrogant, but he's someone that clearly cares about family. Everyone is a dad in Boruto, and despite the drastic lack of dad jokes, seriously get on that, each of the characters fit into a new personality role that clearly feels like a progression from who they were years ago. Sakura is an overreacting, supportive mom, Hinata is serious but kind, Shikamaru is intelligent, supportive and easygoing, and Naruto is a cock. He's the one exception to this rule, and for a character that was always so upbeat and excited, he retains very little of this, to the point where it's just character dissonance. It shouldn't be possible to change a viewer's perspective on a character after 700 chapters of development. At this point, we don't just understand them, but we can develop our own ideas of what the character would be like in a variety of situations. But by reintroducing him without a deeper contextual character arc as a neglectful father, who seems to lack far too many of the quirks he was introduced with, yeah, Naruto is an incredibly dislikable guy. So much so that Sasuke, who you'll remember that I disliked immensely throughout Naruto Shippuden, has become one of the best characters in the entire film, and whilst he's still fairly distant and stern, he's someone who takes the initiative and cares about his family enough to actually put in the effort. This is of course after just being gone throughout Naruto Gaiden, but that's besides the point. However, with Naruto now taking a new role, it does give us the opportunity to sympathise with Boruto even more, especially since his dad gave him such a shit name. No amount of story arcs could forgive that. But anyways, approaching the Chunin exams, Boruto wants to prove to his father that he's worthy of its attention and basically just wants to hear a good job from him. It's a genuinely good story, and the choices that Boruto takes are believable given his circumstances throughout. It's just that the original writer Kishimoto is still obsessed with the final antagonist Kaguya, so much so that both of the villains of the last two movies are related to her. Boruto the movie fails to introduce an interesting antagonist that actually ties into the premise of the film, instead relying on old plot lines that were never particularly great in the first place. Having an enemy related to the gauntlet devices would have made for a lot more effective story arc, rather than just relying on some vague coincidental comparison about using other people's powers. But anyways, that aside, the animation for these fights with them is through the roof. With the film being directed by Hiroyuki Yamashita, an animator in his own right, he's well aware of what needs to be done to make this film into a visual spectacle. And let's just say he picks one hell of a crew to make it happen, giving Tetsuya Nishio, the character designer for the entire franchise, the role of chief animation director, and placing some of the series' best animators within animation director and key animator roles was probably the best idea since sliced bread. For a series that has been going on since 2002, it's definitely something to see it end with stunning modern animation. If you ask a Naruto fan, they might tell you that the Naruto Shippuden series features terrible animation, and whilst they may then link you to Shingo Yamashita's Pain fight, which ironically enough was actually some of the series' best animation, there is a point to be made regarding other areas within, just due to the pure difficulty in staffing something as long as this. But the films are a different beast entirely, and in this case, it's almost like a best of edition for Naruto Shippuden. Naoki Kobayashi, the animator of the fight between Kakashi and Obito. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say this bit really slowly so I can show more footage. Naoki Kobayashi did incredible work on episodes 322, 353, but especially on episode 375. Okay, that's enough of that. As well as Kobayashi, Kenichi Fujisawa is an incredible animator who I mentioned briefly in my One Punch Man video as the guy who animated some of the best parts of the Power Arc, which is a great reminder never to skip filler. But these two are fairly new animators, and if we want to talk about great Naruto animators, we're talking about Norio Matsumoto, who has been working on some of the best scenes ever since part 1. Where am I going with this? Well, all three of these guys are the main animators for Boruto, and it goddamn shows. Incredible action scenes throughout, great character animation, and with moments that I can clearly regard as standout, Boruto is a genuine spectacle. Honestly, the only issue I have with the presentation is that the sound design, particularly at the start, used Yasuharu Takanashi's music really badly. If you compare his work on Log Horizon or Fairy Tail to his work on Boruto, his previous works are just better. This isn't a commentary on Takanashi himself because the music in this film is fantastic, but it rarely reaches the point where your heart starts pumping just because the sound editing is so inconsistently dodgy. I really enjoyed my time with Boruto overall. Whilst the film did have problems and I find it hard to enjoy as a Naruto film, it stood out to me as something new, an actual next generation of the franchise that feels like it could be expanded upon. Obviously I don't want it to be expanded upon, because following something for 6 years does not sound nearly as fun as it used to when I was in high school, and in many ways Boruto does set out its own path, and we can clearly see how their lives might play out anyways. It's a heartwarming story with lovable characters and a strong message to it that offers a genuine spectacle for those that might just get bored with a lower scale story, and I do recommend you watch it even if you're only a casual fan like myself. Although I do wonder if I'm qualified to be a casual fan after reading 700 bloody chapters. If you want to catch up on Naruto, you obviously have too much time on your hands, but you can get all the volumes cheap from shonenjump.viz.com to read on your mobile or tablet. And Boruto is currently available in cinemas for limited release thanks to Madman Entertainment and Viz Media. Thanks for watching the Canipa Effect. My Charlotte review will be out in a couple of days.